Hey all, Bree from the No Guilt Mom podcast, and I have got a gift for you this holiday season. If you love the No Guilt Mom podcast, and I mean love the No Guilt Mom podcast, then tell us about it. Leave us a review, and you can be entered to win a No Guilt Mom gift card. All you have to do is leave a review, take a screenshot, and then simply go to noguiltmom.com/review to enter our giveaway for a free No Guilt Mom gift card, simply for telling us what you think about the podcast. It is amazing. But don't delay. Get right on this, as we're going to be giving away that No Guilt Mom gift card on December 21st. So get right on over and visit noguiltmom.com/review.
Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast. I am your host, Joanne Crone, joined here by my so happy it's the holiday season co-host, Bree Tucker.
Oh, well, hello, everybody. How are you? I think we did festive one time not too long ago, and I'm like, festive. I love festive.
Festive. Well, we're just finishing up December right now. So it's like, it's the festive time of year. And then it goes into like this non-festive time of year. I never know what to do with myself in January. Do you ever feel that?
Oh, yes. God, the hate's a big word, but I'm going to be honest. I truly do not like January.
It's hard.
It's like a month-long hangover.
You go from this holiday high to just like, well, it's the new year. We're all getting older.
Right. Oh, and try enjoying January too when you're single, because that's when they start throwing out all the Valentine's Day stuff, and you're like, yeah, this is fun.
But you're married now, Bree.
I am married now, and you know what? We seriously considered getting married in January just so that Bree had something positive to look forward to.
Oh my gosh, we got to make January a little more positive for you.
Well, we have some positive things coming up for January, for sure.
We do. Well, to get your New Year planning, to get on the right track for 2022, we have a great guest today. Her name is Ryan Haddon. She's a life and spiritual coach, meditation teacher, and hypnotherapist. She helps women create more happy, healthy, and more balanced lives. And she's also the daughter of an international supermodel and actress, and has a wonderfully unique life growing up in Toronto, New York, and Paris.
Oh, man. Amazing.
So many amazing cities. She now lives in New Hope, Pennsylvania, and is mother to 4 kids ages 7, 9, 20, and 22. And we hope you enjoy our interview with Ryan.
Okay, Joanne, you know that in our family, we do the whole where everybody has to make dinner.
Yeah.
And it has been a real struggle getting my youngest to make dinner because she only likes one thing.
What does she like?
Steak.
A steak.
She is a steak eater.
Wow.
To no end.
I didn't know that about her.
Well, and it's funny because the rest of our family, we're not so much steak. Nah. So when she asks me, like, okay, can I make steak? I go, sure. And then she's like, well, what can I make with steak? And I'm like, heck if I know. I don't cook steak. I don't know.
But
chicken or fish, I know.
You found something in Cozy that really helps you out.
We did. So the other day we were having this like brainstorming again. It was Sunday. We were trying to make our grocery shopping list. And I'm like, I don't know what to make with steak. You know what? Open the Cozy app. You know it's got recipes there. Let's look it up.
Yeah.
So she opens the app, types in steak under recipes. Like 4 recipes pop up. And she finds one that was called, what was it called? Allen's flank steak. And it was amazing. It only had 3 ingredients.
That is a really easy steak for a 13-year-old to make.
Yes, it did not freak her out. It didn't intimidate. Because most of them, like, right, there's so many steps. So not only was it easy, but then I showed her, I was like, okay, so do you want to make this? And she's like, I guess, but I don't want to have to, like, add everything. And I go, okay, well, you see this button right here that has a shopping cart? Click it. Mm-hmm. She clicked it, and it went, do you want to add to groceries? She hit yes, and bam, it was there.
That is amazing. No,
and it was funny, too, because in the other room, Miguel's like, hey, I got stuff added to the list. And I'm like, yeah, there you go. It was perfect. And then you know what else you could do? So then the other problem we have with the girl is that she forgets it's her cooking night. Uh-huh. So then on the same thing, I'm like, see that calendar button? She goes, yep. Hit the calendar button, and it opens right up and says, what day do you want to cook this? And then do you want it for breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
I love it.
And it added it to her calendar.
And it just puts it right there.
It put it right there.
That is awesome. And Cozy is the #1 organizing app that families use to juggle everything, including who is making dinner tonight.
Yes.
And it is free in the App Store. Just download Cozy. That's COZI to get the free app today. Well, something to look forward to in 2022 is we have the first annual. I'm putting that out there right now. It's going to be the first annual too.
First ever to be annual.
Like be here on the ground floor. The Happy Mom Summit.
Woo!
It's coming. It's coming. February 28th is when we kick it off. And we are going to have so many phenomenal speakers with the goal of helping you yell less, be more patient, and find that time for you in your life without feeling guilty.
Yes. But how are they going to hear about this summit, Joanne? How?
You need to be on our email list. And you can do that by downloading our Happy Parent Checklist at noguiltmom.com/HPC. And you can do that in the show notes. Now, on with the show. You want mom life to be easier. That's our goal too. Our mission is to raise more self-sufficient and independent kids, and we're going to have fun doing it. We're going to help you delegate and step back. Each episode will tackle strategies for positive discipline, making our kids more responsible and making our lives better in the process. Welcome to the No Guilt Mom Podcast. Welcome to the podcast, Ryan. We are so happy to have you here.
Oh, it's so wonderful to be here. Thank you for having me.
And just in like our short pre-interview, you have such a calming presence. Like I think my stress was like up high and then it's been lowered just a little bit talking to you. So I know that people listening will find a lot of value in this conversation and hopefully it'll lower their stress as well.
I'm so glad that we can do that for each other. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I think so too. So can you tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and what you do and how you came to be doing what you do?
Well, I am a life coach. I'm a hypnotherapist and a meditation teacher. So those are the three modalities that I work with to help people drop into the best version of themselves and kind of clear away what's no longer working.
And how did you get to do those things?
You know, it's usually anyone worth their weight in healing, in being a practitioner of any kind has probably walked through some dark nights of the soul to be able to transmute that and then be a lighthouse for others. It doesn't have to, but I usually gravitate to those sorts of healers, practitioners myself, because they speak from experience and they're learned, right? It's through their own practice of what's tried and true. And I tend to have faith in that, because you can have all the certificates on the walls behind you, but if you're not truly in integrity with it, that doesn't get transmitted to the client. It doesn't get, it's a state, if you will, that we're modeling, that we're holding in place for someone else to step into in their own way, in their own version of it.
I love that. I love it. And we were talking in the pre-interview about like different times that we've had in our lives, especially in like Hollywood, and how like that kind of environment and that kind of situation exacerbates the problems. Can you tell us more about that, about how like your environment was exacerbated?
Yeah, I think that we gravitate to places when there are unhealed parts of ourselves. We gravitate to places that can highlight those things, because I think some part of us, the subconscious, is trying to move us into wholeness. So we pull in experiences that constantly reflect that part of us that isn't quite together yet, isn't quite on the other side of wholeness, if you will, right? Who's still working things out. And so in my case, it was smoke and mirrors, superficiality, addiction. It was those sorts of things of how it showed up on my screen. It's going to show up different for somebody else. You might pull in the bad boy all the time because you're unable to, we're oversimplifying, we're not able to love yourself enough. So you keep pulling in someone who highlights that belief you have about yourself constantly. So I think that's how it works. And that's certainly how it worked on my timeline.
Yeah. I mean, I think all of us can relate to that, where we pull in things that like would you say it's kind of like where we're missing parts of ourselves that we then look to fill that and we don't get in the best relationships, or is it something
I do.
else?
I think so. And I think we have beliefs about ourselves. That's why I'm a hypnotherapist. So I believe in the subconscious and that the power of it. It runs 95% of our life. It's under the surface of everything. It's what we believe about love, relationships, security, abundance. And it can just run point in our life. So consciously, you might have an idea of how you'd like something to go, but the subconscious will hijack or reroute things based on what's familiar to it. So it's habitual patterns and thought processes and beliefs. And so in hypnosis, we can reconfigure those things. So if you find you're butting up against, wanting to live your best life, despite your best efforts, you're not able to, then that's usually the subconscious is in play. And it's our friend. It's not a saboteur. It's trying to move us into alignment, but it's those flags on the field where we start to say, oh, here's this part that's unhealed. Let's take a look at it. How is this working for me? Is this a truth for me? And in my case, I was able to rework that with a hypnotherapist who showed up for me in a time of need. And so I knew at some point I was going to bring this healing to others.
My son is playing a game right now on his computer where he's a thief and the cops are after him. So I'm so excited about this new app, Give As We Grow, where instead of being the quote unquote bad guys, kids are practicing giving back.
That is so cool, Joanne. I really wish that there was something like this when my kids were younger that got them excited about giving back to others and helped them build a better understanding of what it really means to volunteer.
Give As We Grow is the first of its kind free educational mobile app for children ages 8 to 11 that teaches kids via fun, service-focused minigame quests to tap into their unique talents and interests to help others.
And did you know that studies show that there is a biological connection between generosity and happiness, and that volunteering improves people's physical and mental health? I mean, kids who volunteer typically do better in school and are less likely to engage in risky behaviors. And that is something that I think we all want for our kids.
Ready to spark a new movement in generosity? Find and download Give As We Grow for free in the App Store for Android and iOS. And for resources for the whole family, visit giveaswegrow.org. We're hitting that time of year where my brain gets so overloaded in December that I look for anything to make life easier. And I have to say, Brie, that Green Chef is one of those services.
Yes, Green Chef is there to take away the dreaded, oh my goodness, what are we going to eat for dinner tonight? You can eat clean all holiday long with over 80 weekly meal options each week, featuring things like quick and easy, protein-packed, calorie-smart, or my personal favorite, the keto options.
And you don't have to lose track of healthy eating habits during the holidays because every Green Chef customer gets a free session with one of their registered dietitians who can walk you through how to make clean eating work for you, which is very cool.
And I have to say that I have been loving their recipes lately. They put things together I have never thought of. This week, we're trying the lemon basil caper pork with sauteed cauliflower, bell peppers, almonds, and feta cheese, my favorite. Their recipes make it so easy to support my wellness goals without skipping on flavor.
For Green Chef's best deal of the year, get $250 off with code NGM250 at greenchef.com/NGM250. That's greenchef.com/NGM250. And don't forget to use that code NGM250 to get $250 off.
Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well.
That's so interesting because I know that in like my own life, I feel that feeling of butting up against a wall and not being able to overcome it, like especially in the podcast and in the business. And I think a lot of women actually struggle with this. It's raising the volume of your voice because you're afraid to put your opinions and your thoughts out there because you're, I don't know, afraid of, what would you say? Like criticism, kickback, the fear. And like, I feel that all the time where I, as a business owner, I'm scared to put the stuff out there that I know will probably resonate with some people, but will really get a big pushback from other people. And just saying those strong things that I wonder if it's my subconscious being like, hey, there's something there and there's some healing that needs to be done.
Yeah, it could be. And we need your voice. So that's the other part that, right? And we all have, as women too, we're conditioned to be the people pleaser. We're conditioned to be a good girl and fall in line and do the right thing and keep quiet. And so those are all messaging that we've received. That's programming, and that's in our subconscious. And so pushing up against that is probably very real for a lot of us. And so,
oh my gosh, let's talk about that good girl mentality for a little bit, because I think a lot of women do struggle with it, and it relates directly to self-care. And like, the good girl doesn't leave her family, takes care of her children, like is the soul nurturer, and
knows how to do everything right.
Does everything right, doesn't make a mistake. No way.
And her family reflects that.
Yeah. Like how how could we push back against our inner good girl and actually advocate for ourselves to get like the care we need?
Well, I think the first thing is to notice that that's a lie, and it's keeping us bound.
Right.
It's the version of Chinese foot binding, right, where we can't run. And so it's, first of all, just calling that out and saying nobody knows what they're doing. Nobody has a clue.
Okay.
And you get kids and nobody knows. You might not have a nurturing instinct in you. You might not know, you might not like doing Legos on the floor. That might not be your phase of childhood. You might not like changing diapers. Like, so it's just, it's feeling into your experience and giving yourself a lot of room. So that's part of the good girl. The good girl is something imposed on us. It's a blueprint, and it's not real. It's not authentic. And sometimes women uphold this with each other in circles. And I was lucky enough to be in a mommy group in my firstborn, and we were all like, what is going on? How do we do this? So find women that you can be yourself with. Find women that you can say, show me how, because I don't know. This is weird. I'm feeling this. Are you feeling this too? Like, find a safe group of women. And if there's any woman that uses that as leverage to push herself above you in some way, run, because this is not, we cannot move through this. Well, we can, but it's not as fun without the sisterhood, without other moms. And you doing a podcast like this also dispels these expectations of us having to do things perfectly, having to know how to do this. Kids don't come with manuals. And not only that, we're also, if you're, conscious, you're going to be healing your own childhood alongside raising your own child. So that's the goal. If you're not conscious, you're going to be unconsciously banging up, and your kid's going to trigger you all the live long day, and they're going to trigger you anyway. But there's not going to be spaces in between, because they're going to be acting out again so that you can heal, so that then they become the teachers, right? Instead of us teaching them, they're teaching you. They're schooling you in which parts of you are still blanketed in the shadow, which parts of you disown, which parts of you you're not willing to look at.
What you said right there is really interesting about being conscious and being conscious of like your own childhood and your own wounds, because that really goes into our parenting, how we learn about something as kids. And then we like unconsciously do it as adults when it doesn't have the best like implications, like the nagging and reminding kids to do things and trying to control things, because we're up against this good girl kind of idea where everything needs to be ordered. Our kids need to be perfectly dressed. They need to have like their hair done. They have to have healthy lunches at school, like all of this like BS that we're fighting against every day. And just knowing that it's okay to say no to those people who reinforce that stereotype, and that stereotype doesn't have to happen. It doesn't have to exist.
Right. Yeah. It's a self-esteem thing too, because it's saying I'm feeling my way through my childhood, their childhood intuitively. I'm going to trust, I want to make healthy meals because it's important to me to do. I want them to dress this way because, instead of looking at from the outside in and feeling judged, it's really feeling it like, this is a value to me. This is important to me. And figuring out what those are, how much of it is yours and how much of it is imposed from your parents. You have parents or grandparents that look over, they shouldn't be doing this. It shouldn't look like that. Why is this happening? I don't have that, but I know that happens. I have clients that come through here and tell me that. So it's just saying like, what part of that is noise that you can turn the volume down and say, this belongs to me and this belongs to you. And so I'm putting my values as a parent and noticing where you're overcorrecting from your own childhood. I'm fortunate. I have 2 sets of children, 2 marriages. So I have one set that I did very different than what I do today. And the one set was raised in Los Angeles, which is much more people, places, and things. And this set, I'm on a farm. So it's much more like, I'm also an older mom. I'm advanced maternal age, if you will, when I delivered those ones. So there's also a wisdom that comes along. I've grown a tremendous amount since my oldest is 22. So I'm not the same woman that birthed that boy. So it's fascinating to see. That's my blessing, to see both, to see how I've evolved and how I parent, and I don't overcorrect that way. But I think we can know we're in the subconscious programming when we say things our parents said, and we always catch that when we're in duress, when we're in fight and flight. Do it because I said so, like those old school phrases pop out then, because we're in that, our system is jangled. So I would say that would be the point, to reel yourself back in. Notice that that's a subconscious, programming's in play. Stop, breathe, and then come back into the moment again and come at it in a different way if you can. And I think it's doing that as often as and frequently as you can, that you'll start to unlearn those habitual ways of managing things. And you're able to get out ahead of the fight and flight mode that we're all going to pop into from time to time. The goal is not to be Zen all the time. I just want to say that that's another ridiculous spiritual parenting thing, that it's just not going to happen. I think the goal is to move into self-acceptance. The goal is to constantly not be punishing yourself, but evaluating, how did that go? That didn't sit well with me. I feel like I kind of had an out-of-body experience there. I feel like my child didn't really respond in that way. So I think you are, short of like constantly being in your head, I think it's productive to just be in that evaluation mode. I wonder why I got so reactive. Curiosity is a beautiful tool in this way of being. I wonder what came up for me. Why did I get so triggered? Wow, that was really interesting. What does this remind me of? When has this happened for me that I felt this way before? And sort of tracing it back like a Sherlock Holmes through it. And whenever we feel like this do or die with our kids, they need to get this, they need to understand this, you've lost the plot.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is, like, first of all, you don't have to be so self-critical to yourself. Like, it's okay if like the things don't get done. It's okay if you lose your cool from time to time and not be Zen. And then taking that breath and stepping away and figuring that, essentially you've been triggered. You've resorted back to those old habits that you learned. I hear from moms all the time who, like, they don't want to sit down and play with their kids, and they don't want to like do their family time because, and I see it as, they're so depleted themselves that they just don't have the energy to bring to it. So, like, how do we get that energy back? How do we do that as moms?
I think take a look at your day. What are the ingredients in your soup here of your life? Like, how much time is it output and how much is input? And it doesn't even have to be a lot. I remember there was a time where I was living in a guest house while this farmhouse was being built, and I had a newborn baby and I had teenagers, and it was just like I had no space physically. And there's moments that happens, And I remember just washing the dishes and the suds in my fingers and bringing myself into that mindful moment and just breathing. And like, there was a noise, the baby was screaming and the kids were fighting. And it just felt like that pressure that happens. And I just sort of breathe into it. I brought myself into presence. I didn't need to go sit on my mat and meditate and wave incense and ring bells. And I love to do those things, but there wasn't the time for it. So again, I can go within. I always have that place I can retreat to. And for me, it's a safe place. So that's going to be hard if the noise inside you is equal to the noise outside of you. So you're going to want to get a relationship to yourself that feels safe and yummy. And what that means is there's kindness there's compassion, there's space, there's self-acceptance. And when those things are there, I can be washing the dishes and I can retreat into me, and I can use my breath and I can repeat a mantra, or I can just be present with what's happening, and I can get that burst of energy again and start to feel like everything around me can calibrate because I've practiced self-care. So sometimes it'll show up like that, and other times it's me going on a meditation retreat. It's me taking a walk. It's being with my girlfriends. It's feeling that sisterhood of like another mom going like, I can't believe this is happening. My God, will they ever grow out of this stage again? Like it morphs around, but I'm intuitively looking at space in my day and where am I clocking in time for myself so I can give back, because you can't give what you don't have. And, you don't want to go to the hardware store for milk. So find those places in your life that actually give back to you, that are not like, oh, I should be working out. Like if working out, find the workout that actually you're not checking it off the list. Find the thing that actually does make you feel good when you work out. Maybe you don't love Pilates, dang it. Maybe you want to go hiking outside. So this is, again, what this whole theme of this podcast so far has been about: really dialing into your authentic needs and wants, figuring out what those are, figuring out what's been imposed on you, letting that go, and seeing what fills you up and playing with it and getting curious around it. Like, do you like to read? Does that make you feel good? Does that fill you up? Is that a good use of your time? Is it scrolling on Instagram? Who's on your Instagram? Who are you curating? Because my Instagram is just filled with inspiring people. There's no keeping up with the Joneses on my Instagram. I've curated that, and I'm fierce about it because it is a place that I go where I have thought leaders that I'm like, wow, that's fascinating. Wow, I love that. So find those pockets and places in your life that do that for you, and that's real.
This message is sponsored by Greenlight. It is so hard to raise kids who know how to manage money. Bree, right now, my kids are all about earning money for presents. My daughter wants to get presents for all of her friends, and my son is doing a Secret Santa with his friends.
Oh, I hear you. And if you're looking to raise kids that are financially responsible, we have got a lifesaver recommendation for you that you need to check out. It is Greenlight. Greenlight is a debit card and money app made for families that gives kids and teens an easy and fun way to gain financial literacy, all while giving parents peace of mind.
You can send instant money transfers, automate allowance, and even keep an eye on kids' spending with real-time notifications. Meanwhile, your kids can begin their journey towards financial autonomy by learning how to save, invest, and spend wisely.
So sign up for Greenlight today and get your first month free when you go to greenlight.com/NGM.
That's greenlight.com/NGM to try Greenlight for free. Greenlight.com/NGM.
Hey all, Bree here, and I wanted to share one of my favorite gifts to give during the holiday season, a Storyworth book. It is the most amazing gift ever. Storyworth is an online service that lets you create a special and unique gift of someone's story. I've given Storyworth books to both of my parents, and it has been their favorite gift, hands down. And did I mention it is so easy? Storyworth emailed my parents questions every week that I handpicked from their massive list of questions that they have. All my parents had to do was open their email and answer them. That easy. I asked my dad questions like, did you have any rules that you set for yourself as a parent, which you immediately broke? And he did. I even asked both of my parents, are you more like your mom or your dad? And they shared a lot of really amazing qualities that I didn't know about my grandparents at the time. Then at the end of the year, Storyworth compiles all of their answers, puts them into this gorgeous book that covers everything. My parents love showing us their books, and I personally love getting a chance to read them. With Storyworth, I am giving those I love a thoughtful and personal gift from the heart that preserves their memories and stories for years to come. Go to storyworth.com/NGM and save $10 on your first purchase. That's storyworth.com/NGM to save $10 on your first purchase.
Okay, I love that. I totally agree with you on the social media thing. I noticed that when I was scrolling through my social media accounts a few months ago, there were some accounts that made me be like, oh, I should be doing that, or I should be doing like this. And I was like, delete.
Good.
And I haven't had those feelings since. Going back to the exercise, it's really interesting that you mentioned that because
Joanne has a favorite.
I feel like I do that. And I beat myself up so that exercise doesn't become a restoring activity, but it's like, oh my gosh, here's what I should do. I need to do my cardio and then I need to do my strength. Oh, and then after cardio, I don't feel like doing strength. And I said, oh, I have not done a good job with my exercise today because I have not done strength. And it'll just beat me up inside. So I love that you say it should be fun because
I see you plenty of days when it's fun. So I hope you have more of those days.
It's fun. It's fun a lot. I have a Peloton and I have a very favorite instructor.
Oh, that's
on
cool.
There and just dances the whole time. Cody Rigsby.
Fun.
Shout out to Cody.
And sometimes we have to just move the needle forward and do the things we don't want to do. It's not all fun, but I just meant like find what you're defining as self-care and make it that.
Mm-hmm.
Like if exercise isn't self-care, then don't say you checked that box of self-care. If exercise isn't that for you, it doesn't, just because it looks like it should be. If it's not filling you up, then maybe it's just another job that you feel you have to do to maintain your health. Good, but don't put it in the category of self-care, because when we're talking about self-care as something that fills you up, so you can, as a mom, as a parent, so you can give back to your world that depends on you. And if exercise doesn't fit in that, and it's just, just like we eat right or we drink our water, we don't always want to drink our friggin' 64 ounces of water a day, which I don't. So, but like all these tasks, all these tasks, and so figure out what you're defining as self-care. Maybe make a list and what that looks like to you. You talked earlier about a podcast you listened to where I had talked about a menu. So make a menu ahead of time of things that fill you up, So that way, when you're in that shaky place or you're in a darker zone or a season of your day, that you can say, oh, you know what, I'm going to do this one. This feels good to me right now. And you look through that list, because the mind that's already in it can't see its way out. So you're not going to feel like doing anything. You're just going to want to Netflix, or you're just going to want to like do something else that might not be as uplifting. So,
oh yeah. My go-to is eating a lot of junk food on the couch while watching Schitt's Creek, and that does not make me feel better. I can say from the get-go.
But there's a place for it. Yes.
There's a place for it, but that does not make me feel better at the moment. But I like what you said about like the mind, like it doesn't know how to get out of it when it's in it. So I need one of those self-care like menus and writing it down. And finding what I find personally fulfilling. A lot of things I see with moms, though, is they've gotten to this point where they don't even know what personally fulfills them anymore. Do you have any advice for like how to find out like what they love doing again?
Well, I'm just going to toss in there that I think a lot of us, like, that's a really good point. We get stuck in our identity as a mom, and that is who we are. And then when something happens that shifts that, like I went through that myself a few years back when I got a divorce, and I'm like, I have no idea what I like to do, because my whole life, everything in my day to day was about raising my kids, getting from here to there, being a good wife, doing what I need to do at home as well. And then it's very, very daunting to have that moment, that realization of that I have no idea what I like to do anymore. So how do you get to that? It was a hard road for me. I'm hoping that there's some better advice than mine.
I think I always say, what did you like to do before? What have you always wanted to do that you said, someday I'm going to be a knitter. Someday I'm going to make jewelry. Someday, make that list. I say the jewelry because I like to make jewelry, and I have always bought beads and done all of that. And in fact, I sell jewelry on my website now. Like it's something I've always loved. It's always been a through line. And so I always knew I would do it, and I'm doing it now. So it's find that thing that makes you feel good, that you've always thought someday, make it now, pull that list out, and then kind of start exploring it. And maybe you don't like beading, maybe you don't like knitting, but at least you're hitting that list, that bucket list, if you will, of hobbies, of interests, of, maybe there's a book club, make that list of things. Because I bet you if you sit down with a pen and paper, you're much more interesting than you think you are. You have much more interests. It's just that life's gotten small for a minute, and there's a time for that. And then there's a time to expand. And then start asking people, what do you like to do? What do you do in your spare time? Like, get curious. Again, here's that curiosity, how it can serve us. What do you do to fill your time? And then get cracking.
I think that's amazing advice. And I think that's what you eventually did too.
It is. It
It
took me a little while. That's where I found out that I love going to see live music and I love being on the water, but I had no idea. Those were things I had never done before. And now they're a big part of my life.
Beautiful.
So yeah.
Good for you for following that, because some people don't. And it's all there. The breadcrumbs are there. That's the thing. It's not like you need to become someone else. It's all there. All your interests have always been there in what you've watched and who you've hung out with. And so it's just follow the breadcrumbs. It's not like you have to reinvent this new person that exists, that you have to align with, who's advanced some other place. She's right here, right now. So.
And giving yourself permission to be curious and follow the breadcrumbs and take like breaks from your responsibilities. I think like that's huge thing as well.
Yeah, it's a priority.
Well, this has been amazing, Ryan. I have so many things that I'm going to take away from this. I'm going to like write down my list of self-care activities right when we get off. Can you tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, we've talked a lot about Instagram. So I'm on Instagram at Ryan Haddon Coach, and then my website, I'm ryanhaddon.com.
Yeah. Awesome. And what are you most looking forward to right now?
Well, I'm just turning in my book manuscript. And so I'm really excited about that. It's been almost a year of working on it. And so I'm at the final tail end of it. So I'm excited about that.
Oh, yeah. Wow. What's it about?
It's about finding your center, that place within you, and nine ways to do that to anchor into that relationship to yourself. And so I talked about that a little bit. And from there, every good thing grows. Passion, purpose, abundance, all relationships sort of find their place once you're dialed in. So how do you do that? This book will talk about the steps.
Ooh, very
So
excited.
that is a book I want to read.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Well, thank you so much, Ryan, for coming on. It has been amazing.
No, thanks.
So one thing about this interview is that Ryan just brought such calm. Like you just
I
felt calmer
know.
talking to her.
She is definitely one of those people that can take you from on that, like, I just had 10 cups of coffee high
Yeah.
to like, oh, I can meditate.
My friend Tasha has a name for this. She calls her husband this as well. It's human Xanax.
Oh my gosh.
And it's
she's
like
so calming.
a wonderful quality because, and like, I mean, we have stressed out lives. I'm like a basket case most of the time.
Oh yeah, so that's why we get along so well.
Yeah,
because
we're
we
both basket.
We just bounce back the basketball for the basket case back and forth to each other.
We're like, squirrel. And the other one's like, where?
I know.
That's what it's like working with us.
Another squirrel.
Another squirrel. Oh, where's it this day? No, but Ryan brings such a calm, and she had some amazing tips, especially like self-care and finding who you are, because I think that's so hard as a mom. A lot of us second guess ourselves in like doing things for ourselves. Like I do. I second guess doing things for myself because I'm like, oh, but if I go do this and take this time, then I take away from my family and they might need something during this time.
And I really liked Ryan's journey. Like she really has been through the highs and the lows and has really found that calm middle ground for reflection. And it was just awesome. So like if anybody if you want to connect with Ryan, learn more about her and what she does, click on the link in the show notes for Ryan because she does some amazing stuff, guys.
She has a great, great story. So until next time, remember, the best mom's a happy mom. Take care of you, and we'll talk to you later.
Thanks for stopping by. Are you looking for something to listen to with your whole family? Then check out 6 Minutes, produced and created by Gen Z Media. With over 200 twisty, cliffhanger-filled episodes, 6 Minutes tells the story of 11-year-old Holiday who was pulled from the icy waters with no memory of who she is or where she came from.
3 years ago, Brinley Pasternak helped the Anders family uncover the truth about Holiday's past. Now she'll need them to help her find the truth about hers. In 6 Minutes Out of Time, the long-awaited sequel, Cyrus Anders is found unconscious near the mysterious Elixir Academy in Florida, and Brinley learns the school may have a shocking connection to her missing mother.
Dive in now and get the most downloaded family audio adventure in history. Follow 6 Minutes wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen early and ad-free with the GZM family subscription.